Hello and welcome to my workshop. Today we're going to be looking at getting all of the electronics placed on the truck, as well as most of them wired up, and see if we can get this thing rolling. Just kind of go through the list. We have the new Castle waterproof VEC, and so I got a little spot right here, and so that's probably going to, the best place is to go right there. Nice and out of the way, and so this is waterproof. I don't have to worry about it. The Castle Mamba Max Pro, it's a little bit of an older ESC, but it still does a really good job. And I made a little plate that goes up on the front right here, and what it allows me to do is just tuck this ESC back up underneath here, and gives it lots of room for ventilation, the fan to run. The receiver, I decased the receiver, waterproof this, and just wrapped it with some tape just to kind of protect the waterproofing. And so there's some Velcro underneath this, so I'll just be able to slip that in there right here, and that's where the receiver will live. I don't have plans to run a winch on this at any time in the future, but if I do, there's plenty of spots where I could mount a winch receiver and a winch if I decided to. But right now, I'm not going to plan on doing that. The battery box in the back is a very large and generous sized battery box. I wanted to have it open so that I can run it for trail, put a really big battery in here if I wanted to, or have it a smaller battery, either one. And so that's going to work out really well. And I also have these lights. Now, I think we talked about these a little bit earlier, but these are 12-volt lights. They're designed to go in the back of a car or a pickup truck. I made it so it can slip right up in there as well. So we'll have these really nice, bright headlights, and they'll be oriented in somewhere in this general vicinity. That's pretty much it. It's not a really complicated setup, but I'm hoping to get it all tied in nice and neat. So let's get started. So for the servo, it comes with quite a long wire. So instead of wrapping this thing up and just having a bunch of bundle of wire down here, what I'm going to do is cut this off and replace the end and crimp that on with the crimping tool, and just put a brand new end on that. I'll also put two blanks that are crimped inside of here. I found that just having one of these is just not enough, and it'll rattle loose. So you just put two blanks. The three seem to be enough to hold it on to the receiver. So one of the things that I have found, this bottom crimp really has to be on top of the insulation, and that will provide enough strength so that this cannot pull off. The second crimp up is what actually crimps the wire. Okay, so far I've got the BEC mounted and wired into the battery lead that's going to go back for the battery box here. That's routed up to the front where the ESC is, and using some Castle BEC bullet connectors. Now, the ESC up front with the signal wire and the wires going to the motor, also with the Castle bullet connectors. The only thing I have left to do is to get the wires ran toward the lights in the rear. So I was able to get all the electronics in the spots that I originally planned for. In the back we have a pretty large battery tray, and that has the Dean's connection inside. And this next one up is the BEC. Now originally I had planned on using the waterproof BEC, and I believe I messed this one up. Pretty sure it was my fault, and but it's not working now. So I have a non-waterproof one in at the moment, and I will look at getting a waterproof one later, or either just waterproof this one. And the wires are tucked in and tied up to the rail, and we used some JST connections to make the connection between the BEC output and the servo. I split off the signal wire from the servo and run that into the receiver, which is mounted up underneath here. And so what that gives me is from the battery to the BEC straight to the servo, without having to go through the receiver to get its voltage. I put this at 6.2. I'm also tapped off of the internal BEC and ran a wire back, and that wire runs all the way back to the rear, and that will run my LEDs. And so I set the internal BEC at the stock, which is 5.5 volts. The last bit are the headlights, and these again are the 12 volt, and they'll mount into the body and run back. And then I have a wire, another JST plug, which is just connected straight into the battery, and then I'll be able to plug in the lights. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the rocks.